It's always exciting on Off the Podium when we can tick off a sport that we have never had an athlete on from before. And this is a sport today which I'm surprised that we have not had someone on before. It's soccer or football. Call it what you like. We're in Australia and the guest is Canadian, so it's technically soccer, but for the majority of the world, it's football. And what a guest we have on the show today to break the duck of soccer, because she is an Olympic gold medalist, part of Team Canada that won a gold in Tokyo, which was one of the best moments of the entire Olympics. Still absolutely beaming, and I'm Australian and I love that moment. I can still imagine all of Canada is still beaming over that, but it is a pleasure to be able to welcome to the show to learn more about her experiences in Tokyo and everything else from her amazing career, the one, the only Gabrielle Carle. Gabby, first of all, welcome to Off the Podium. It's a pleasure to have you on the show today.
Thank you very much. Very happy to be here.
Very pumped and excited to have you on here. Again, I want to apologise to all soccer players in the world that it's taken us so long to get one of you on the show, because I mean it's the world game, Gabby. Like, this should be the first sport we tick off, right? Like, what's I don't know what our problem is, but it's a sport that obviously I guess everybody at some point in their life probably plays. I think no matter whether you're sporty or not, you do it in gym class, in school, and everything along those lines. But what was it in particular to you that sort of, when you maybe gave it a bit of a try as a young girl, led you into ultimately winning an Olympic gold medal in the sport?
Oh my God. Well, that's a whole journey.
We've got time, Gabby. The clock has started. Let's get into it.
Well, I first started playing soccer because of my father. He played soccer. So he put me in, I was, I think, 5 years old. And I mean, when I started playing, I did not understand how it was played at all. Like, I would just like stand there on the field and kind of not move at all. The game would go on and I'd just be in the same spot for the whole game. But then after my first game, my dad asked me like if I liked soccer, like because you don't look like you like it. Obviously, you're not moving. And I said that I enjoyed it, so I kept playing. And I kept playing and I kept playing until I stood on the top of a podium at the Olympics, which is kind of surreal.
It's crazy to think that just that little moment can go on to all that journey. Because I'm reading here, I love sort of on one of your bios here about the other sports that you played and participated in: figure skating, basketball, karate, swimming. I mean, it seems like you were just obviously a typical kid, tried your hand at everything. But were any of these other ones sort of alongside soccer ones that you pursued a little bit longer, and maybe we could be talking to you today from a different perspective from an Olympian?
I don't know. Yeah, I had a pretty busy childhood in terms of sports. I tried a lot of them. And like like when I was like from I feel like 8 to 12, like there was a period where I played all these sports together, and I love basketball. But I'm 5'6", 170 centimeters. So like where would I have gone with that? And then figure skating would get stage fright. So that also like out the window. And karate, I liked it, but not more than that. Like, my true love was soccer. Like, I loved it so much. I couldn't wait to get off like basketball training or get off like figure skating training and go to soccer and play soccer. And that probably because I was the best at it too.
Right. That usually helps when you kind of, you feel
Yeah, when you're good at something, you kind of want to keep doing it. Yeah.
exactly right. Which I love that aspect of the stage fright with figure skating. I mean, that's, I can't skate to save my life, so I can't imagine what it's like when you maybe can, but then you've got to do that and perform on that level as well. A little bit different to, I guess, soccer. You're not having to do triple lutzes and things like that, right?
Complete opposite. Yeah. It was, I would get white in the face. My mother was afraid I was going to pass out. Like, it was, it was not good. Yeah.
Which, growing up, did you watch the Olympics? Was sort of, you would watch them every 4 years and think to yourself that this would be something you would like to do one day?
I think as a general rule, I always had this like vision that I wanted to play for my national team. That was like my biggest dream ever since I've been, I think I got it my first time. I was like 9 years old when I like realized it was a possibility. And then I just remember watching the 2008 Olympics, and just like that was the first Olympics I remember watching and being like, this is so cool, and like how amazing would it be to be there one day.
Because I guess It's a different perspective for soccer players in terms of the progression, because where a majority of the guests on this show, the Olympics is the pinnacle of your sport. Soccer is obviously very different because you've got the World Cup and the Olympics. Different again also obviously for women's soccer, given that it's basically the same players are playing at the World Cup versus the Olympics, where it's obviously different for men's. But do you sort of, when you got that progression, that dream of making the national team, do you look at a World Cup and think this is the peak, or are you looking at the Olympics and thinking this is the peak?
Yeah, I think when I first realized that like women could like play soccer too, I know this sounds stupid, but like for some reason, when I was younger, I hadn't realized that like women soccer players could play like professional soccer for their national team. And like when I was like 8, 9 years old, I realized, and it was during a World Cup, a women's World Cup. I was like, oh my God, like there's the like female version, there's the women's version of a World Cup. Like, and so for me, initially the dream was the World Cup. And then afterwards, like in 2008, realizing like, oh wait, there's also Olympics. I think like it was the whole package. The whole thing is just like it was a huge dream of mine.
And what was the scene like then in Quebec and sort of Canada in general for you at that age? Because I can imagine probably a little bit different now for young girls, given the state of the game and the gold medal and the success that has come. But I mean, obviously going back to that period of time, was it widely popular? Was there lots of pathways for girls in particular to get into the sport?
I think I just kind of went, like I just every year just went through the process and didn't really think. Like every year something new was like thrown at me, like, oh, like now you're at this level, then you can do this. Like you can go to provincial team, for example. Oh, now like a year later, oh, now you can make like the youth national teams and stuff like that. I never like, and to me, the path always seemed very linear. Like I feel like there was always only one way to get there. And I was lucky that I followed that exact path. Like in Canada, there's like most girls need to go to the like American universities to keep like going and getting better. So like for me, it was like this pretty straight path. Like if I went like astray from that, I felt like I wouldn't have made it to where I am. And I think nowadays, and even back then, like there's like some people that like went a different route and still made it to the highest level. But I like to think that nowadays there's like different, like there's more option than just this one path that you need to follow. Yeah.
It's, the one thing you mentioned before when you say you didn't realize that, there was a women's World Cup or women's sort of progression for that. I remember watching the movie Bend It Like Beckham. This is a weird tangent, Gabby, but bear with me. And I remember in that movie where obviously the dream was to make it big in the sport, and we got to go to America because they've got this league. And I mean, it sounds silly to base it on a fictional story, but I mean, realistically back then, kind of like there wasn't as much exposure as you have to women's soccer now. So I guess probably my first exposure to the level of women's soccer that you have was in that movie. And it did seem that it was only like the USA really at that point where it was there, because they've been pretty proactive, haven't they, with women's soccer? So it must be pretty convenient that they're kind of just a little bit below you guys, that kind of if you want to go and progress this as a career, that you don't have to travel too far from home.
No, absolutely. And I think there's also, I mean, the reality is right now as a women's soccer player, you don't make nearly as much as a man on professional level. So then you go to the United States, you're at university, you're also getting an education, and you're playing soccer at the highest level possible at that point. So like there's like these two factors that you're like, well, like if I retire like at 30, obviously I won't have millions in my pocket. Then I have an education I can go straight into and like go into and get a job and just like make money there. And yeah.
I love just that system that exists in the US, and as you say, like it's great to get a scholarship for sport, but you are getting an education obviously along the same way. I mean, we don't really have that in Australia in terms of sports, and universities are not really a big deal like they are in that part of the world, which you talked about that linear approach. So do you kind of get to a certain age where you realize that, well, this is my path, I need to go to the States, and then I guess, what do your parents think of that? They realize that, you're maybe not going to be going to university in Canada, you're going to be going a little bit further south.
Yeah, well, I think the one thing for my parents that was important is that I did go to university. That was
Right.
really important. So wherever it was, I think it was okay with them. I think the fact that I left home when I was 13 years old,
Wow.
because yeah, provincial team. So Quebec is um, kind of big enough that like the provincial team is in one spot and like you can live somewhere where it's like 3 hours away. So and if you train every day there, sorry, then you have to live in a host family. You have to go to school, to high school, like near the training facilities. So yeah, I was 13 and I left for Montreal. And I would spend my weeks in Montreal and then come back to Quebec City during the weekends. So then already that I'd been away from my family on and off for like 5 years when I decided to go to university. So that wasn't like a big shock to them. And then I decided to go to Florida. So that's always like, oh, like it's going to be sunny there. You can come visit me.
Yeah, from Quebec to Florida is a bit of a change,
Oh,
weather in general. But the thing I love about a lot of provinces in Canada is the difference that internally in, provincially, like Quebec City to Montreal is a bit of a difference. I've been to Montreal, and to me, as somebody who comes from a country speaks predominantly English, to go to a place where that's obviously not really the main language in there, it's a bit of a
yeah.
culture shock, let alone the other way around, Quebec City to Montreal. So I can imagine, is that as a 13-year-old having to sort of switch to that part of the province, like a lot to sort of get used to, I can imagine.
Yeah, but again, like I knew that, as I said, like the path in my head was really straight, and I knew that that's where it led. And I like as a 13-year-old, I was very determined to get to where I wanted to get, and I knew that I had to go there. So yes, it was a sacrifice, but it was also like such an opportunity for me. I was really looking forward to it because I was like, this is the next step into going to where I want to go.
Is there a hotbed for soccer in Canada in terms of, you're obviously from Quebec, but like for the most part, are the girls coming from the West Coast, from Alberta, like, or is it kind of spread because it's such a, I guess, a played sport that you kind of pick and choose
Yeah,
from different parts of the country?
yeah. I feel like Ontario is really big. Um, I couldn't really say why, but a lot of good players come out of Ontario. The fact that the country is so wide, so big makes it hard, I feel like, for recruiting and for like really like scouting out talent. I think we have a system in place now that is better. And so like every province gets a good look. Uh, but like it's always a challenge when your country's so wide to like
Mm.
have enough scouts, like have eyes everywhere to find the best players possible.
Because I found when I was there, obviously I was in Victoria, so a lot of summer sports are based in that part of the country because of the weather, and I would have assumed that maybe soccer, summer sport, maybe a little bit out that way. But obviously, again, soccer is such a widely spread sport versus, say, rugby, which, maybe not as widely played. So I guess, you've got that in each of the provinces, really.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I think there was a time where like the national team was based out of Vancouver. And nowadays, yes, it still is, but like we have less camps there. We used to have a lot of camps. Like we like go and train together in Vancouver, which really isn't bad. Like love Vancouver. It's so beautiful, the mountains and everything. But yeah, nowadays it's a bit different.
It's obviously going back to the point that you moved from Quebec to Florida, again, at least on the weather side of things, a little bit different. But I mean, how did you find that sort of adjustment? You did okay playing there as well, won a championship with them as well. So, not bad on the success side of things, but how was that experience?
Yeah, I loved it. I loved it so much. I think the first day, so I drove down from Quebec to Florida with my
Wow,
car,
nice
with my car
drive.
and my mother. Yeah, I know, 25 hours.
That's not too bad.
25-hour journey with my mom. We'd like 6 hours each. We'd alternate driving, and then I got there, and then my mom left. She flew out like I think like a day or two later, and I really remember sitting in my car just crying. But then it took like I don't know like 10 minutes of crying, and then I was okay and happy, and from then on like I it was my home. Tallahassee in Florida State like has been my home for 5 years.
And they're the Gators,
And
right? Am I thinking of the right school?
oh my God, no, no, no,
They,
no, no,
no, wrong one. Okay,
no.
whoops, hang on, whoops, I've started something here. I'll
Huge
see
rivalry.
myself out.
Never. No, no, no. Never mix up the Gators and the
Okay.
Seminoles.
All right. I'll be careful from now on. It's like, basically saying that
No,
Quebec City and Montreal are the same, right? Like different poutine's better in one than the other. I
obviously,
understand.
yes,
Obviously,
yes.
obviously. Come on now. Come on now. But I mean, is it like culturally as well? Because like again, for say our Australian listeners, we think Canada, America, basically the same. It's like Australia, New
Mhm.
Zealand, subtle differences. But I mean, if I'm thinking two different parts of two different countries, Florida and Quebec, I mean, you may as
Yeah,
well be in, Australia and Burkina Faso. Like, I mean, I can imagine that there's just a level there of things that you got to get used to, particularly Tallahassee as well. That's a
absolutely.
unique part of Florida.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yes, absolutely. And I think I hadn't realized because I'd been used to going on vacation in Florida, but the south of Florida, like Fort
Yeah.
Lauderdale, that part where it's more like touristy and but like Tallahassee is north of Florida, and it's very like it's as southern. Like when you think like southern, like it that is Tallahassee. And so I got there and I was not expecting that at all. I was a bit shocked at first. But then like you get used to it and it's kind of, I mean, Southern hospitality is a thing. People there are so nice and yeah, you feel welcome like immediately.
And the food. Like, can we talk about Southern cooking? Like, how amazing is Southern cooking, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's very greasy. So at first I was very against it. It's salty, it's greasy. And I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna gain like 15 pounds immediately. But then like every once in a while, like when you have a good biscuit, oh my God,
Mm.
yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah, I'm not one for corn, but cornbread.
Yeah.
Good sweet tea. Yeah, some of the
Mhm.
best food I've had is in the south. But again, you're from the province that invented poutine. Like, I mean, how can you not just be putting on weight all the time, Gabby? Like, I mean, God, I've been there enough times to think that I put on like 50 kilos every time I leave Quebec. But I mean, God, like how? It's the best food in the world.
Yeah, I try to stay away from poutine as much
Oh,
as I can. I know it's
letting your
sad.
province down, Gabby. Come
I
on.
do like a good poutine like every once in a while, but other than that, I don't. I stay away from it. I don't want to make it a habit because it is really good and it is really bad for you too. So
Yes, there's that kind of fine line there. You made your debut for Canada at the Under 17 World Cup, I believe, which sort of growing up when you got that idea of playing for your country and sort of the progression that you can have sort of through those levels. I mean, what's that moment like when you get to put the maple leaf on your shirt for the first time, represent your country, sort of live out that dream that you started when you started playing the sport?
yeah. I mean, it's such a proud moment, but it's also a moment where you're like, I need to focus, put my all my attention into this because yes, I've reached this level. I'm finally getting to put this jersey on at the senior level, but like now it really starts, you know? Like now I have to put on this jersey and I have to make Canada proud. I have to perform. Like I have to play my best game.
Because it comes from that level of, I guess, always wanting that next step. Again, that linear approach where it's like, I've made the under 17 team. What's next? The under 19 team, the under 20. Like, you kind of keep going through and ticking off the boxes, right? Which I guess comes down to what performance, putting in your all. I mean, do you ever set yourself with that linear approach of, okay, I want to make the 2016 Olympics. I want to make the 2015 World Cup. Like, had you sort of set yourself little goals and progression points on that linear approach?
Yeah. Yeah, I think like everything I can make, I want to make. So in 2015, when I made my debut, I was in that pool of players that could make the 2016 Olympics. So it's like I won't limit myself, even though like it's a big like it's a big thing, like it's huge and it can be like a huge amount of pressure to put on yourself to be like in 10 months I'm going to be at the Olympics, but you can't let yourself down. Like you have to be like I want to make that team because if not you'll never make it. Like you have to like yeah, be focused on that goal. So that's how I approach like every World Cup, every Olympics.
In terms of positions, sort of what's your preference, and have
Mhm.
you changed sort of much over your career in terms of did you start as a defender now an offender or kind of vice versa?
Yeah, I think that's like been the story of my career is how much I've changed position. And how much I did not expect to change position and like how much I keep changing position. Yeah, I started out and when I first put on that jersey, I was a white forward. And then a year later, I dropped to attacking mid. And then I got to college and I dropped to outside back.
Wow.
Because I wasn't supposed to be outside back at all. It's just that our my outside back, my left back, um, she tore her ACL a week before the beginning of season, and for some reason I was the replacement for that position. I never played there. And then I was told it was only going to be temporary. And I mean, it's been 5 years now, and I still play this position.
You've
And
done
the
all right in
national
it
team
then.
is there now. Yeah, I know. It's kind of crazy. And yeah, and recently I also play center back sometimes. So yeah, I mean, I I have a preference? I like playing, I think. So
Wherever they
wherever.
put you, basically, wherever
Yeah.
it goes out there. Have you ever played goalie before? Have you ever needed to,
That's
put
the
on the
one.
gloves?
That's the one thing I have not touched yet, and that's the
Yeah.
one thing I hope I will never have to play on the professional level.
You never say never. Who knows? They might, get shorts. Who knows that? Well, one experience I'd like to learn a little bit about Pan Am's in 2015.
Mhm.
Playing at home, obviously, not too far from where you grew up in terms of closer than Florida, I guess. But I mean, what sort of home soil, playing for Canada, a multi-sport event as well, getting a bit of a taste about what was sort of the Pan Am experience like.
Yeah, that was my first like really like taste of what the senior national team is like. It was our under 23 team, but like the national team head coach, the senior head coach, was with us there, and there was a bunch of like the younger girls that are on the senior team were with us too. So it really felt like I was on like the real national team, and it was one of my best experiences, honestly, because it was like my first time experiencing something as huge as this. And I mean, during the tournament, I did well, and it got me to actually going to the national team like 3 months after that, like making it to the senior national team. And I just, yeah, it was a really really special experience, and my first time playing in front of so many people. I think there was like 10,000 people at every one of our games, and they were all like cheering for us.
I
So
hope so.
it was, yeah. I mean, it was in Toronto. Yeah, they were all wearing red and white, and it was, oh my god, it was great. Yeah, I have like only good memories from that.
Obviously, a big year 2015 for women's soccer in Canada with the World Cup that year as well. So, I mean, it just must have been a great time to be involved in the sport because I know right now at the time of recording this, we're about a year or so away from the World Cup being in Australia and just the hype that's being around that in this country. So, I mean, what was that sort of period like playing the sport, playing for your country, Canadian soccer, women's soccer in 2015?
Yeah, I think like you felt seen, because like media was talking about it, and like there was, yeah, publicity and stuff and advertisement, and so like it felt like all of a sudden like the women's team had always been, well, 2012 and 2012, sorry, in London, like that's when they won the bronze medal. That's why like they
Yeah.
really got seen by like the whole of Canada. But then in 2015 the World Cup is there, so it's like you're getting talked about again and the hype is around, and so it was, yeah, it was really special.
You scored your first goal. I saw the footage actually before this interview in a World Cup qualifier against Guatemala, 10-0, I believe. Just a lazy win there for Canada. Pretty, poor effort. You should have gotten some more goals. Let's be honest. But what's that like to score a goal for your country as well? I mean, that must be a pretty special
Yeah.
feeling. Nice goal too, by the way.
Oh, thank you. I felt like it was really scruffy. It was just kind of like a toe in. I kind of wish my first goal would have been like more spectacular, but like the
Right
feeling
place,
was,
right time, Gabby. That's what I always
I
say,
guess,
right?
yeah,
You've
yeah, I
got to be
was
there
there.
for it. Yeah.
And
You listen to your coach.
uh, yeah, it was a great feeling. And it was, yeah, like just like joy, like, oh my God, like this really happened. I was, yeah, remember being really happy.
Is there much that goes into thinking about a celebration? I mean, I guess the more goals you're scoring, you probably think about a little bit more. But I don't know. Like, it's always fun to see a good soccer celebration. Do you ever put a bit
Yeah.
of thought process it into it?
I can't say that I have. Well, right nowadays, I'm not the person in charge of scoring goals most of the time. So whenever it happens, it's just like I think like I still have this reaction of pure surprise, like two arms in the air, like oh my God, I just scored. Uh, but back when I was a goal scorer, I think I don't know. I like as a like 17-year-old on the national team, I didn't want to be like, oh, like I'm gonna have this whole celebration when I score. Like I didn't want to seem too cocky, you know? But I remember like other girls like team celebrations, you know, like when someone
Hmm.
scores, like for example, when Christine Sinclair scored the goal that made her like the greatest goal scorer of all time, like we had a celebration plan. On the bench, we had like oh my God. We had like these like goats masks because like, you know, greatest of all time. And so like all the like subs put them on and like stuff like that. And just like,
Fantastic.
yes. So like some celebration, but personally, I don't have one.
I love that aspect though of like having a mask ready to go and like put it on there, perfect for Christine. Like that's yeah, no pressure that like she's got to get that goal then. Like it's kind of we've brought the coat mask and everything today. Come on, today's the day, Christine.
Yeah. There's an account. Yeah.
Has to happen today. That's absolutely incredible. 2016, you're an alternate for Rio.
Mhm. Yeah.
So take us through that. So what does that mean? Do you travel with Canada to Rio? Are you there, and are you just basically sitting around hoping that somebody gets sick or injured, essentially, so you can get your chance?
Yeah. Yeah, it's the worst feeling actually because you get named as an alternate and you do travel. You're with the team the whole time, except during games you sit in the stands. But then like that's the thing is like you don't want to wish something bad on anyone, but for you to get a chance, you need something bad to happen to someone. And that's kind of like it's a really awful feeling to have, actually, and especially like I was 17, so it's just like it's a bit young to be like feeling that way. And like how do you deal with that? Because like yeah, it was but it was still like my like I was in the village, like actually seeing the village, the athletes being around like such greatness is like yeah, you can't really put words to it and like the feeling is just like this kind of surreal. So it was like all in all a great experience and we got bronze and at first I didn't think I was going to get a medal because I didn't think alternates got medal and then 2 days later the whole team was there and like presented the alternates with their medals.
Oh, so you got a medal. You got one
Yeah,
as
yeah, yeah,
well.
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
fantastic.
it was a super special moment and like I think at that point like we like all really felt appreciated. And yeah, it was cool. So I do have yeah, 2016 bronze medal
Let me
also.
redo our introduction here. We have on the show today an Olympic gold and bronze medalist. You know, which I mean, like, you know, you want to play. That's what you do. But I'm just saying this right now, Gabby. You get a nice 2 week holiday to Brazil. You get to sit in the crowd and cheer on your teammates and fellow countrywomen out there, and then you get a nice piece of jewelry at the end of it. So if you
Oh,
don't,
trust me, by any means it wasn't bad. Yes, it was
exactly, not bad.
all things considered. You do, yep. Yeah. It was nice.
Which I got to ask. Okay, like I'm not taking away from your hard-earned bronze medal there, but why don't the coaches get a medal? Like if you're getting one as an
Yeah.
alternate, why don't the coaches get one?
Yeah, I don't know. It's like in college, you know, like when you win a national championship, the whole staff gets a ring. Like
Yeah,
you get rings in America. That's big, you know, like every big sport gets rings. They're huge. But like the whole coaching staff, even like the strength trainer, like the physios, like they get their rings. And then at the Olympics, yeah, it's only players.
that's
They do play a
crazy.
big part. They
Yeah,
do
I
play.
mean,
I think
I
they
see
should get
Bev
some.
having something around. She's got to have something around her neck. She deserves it. Come on.
Like some, I feel like some form of something should be given.
Yeah.
Yeah, I won't pronounce myself on that. I'm not sure. I
There,
won't
I
agree.
will say, you know, I don't know if you're aware of this, but there are some pretty decent replicas out there. I may have a bag filled of Olympic gold medals from my esteemed career of buying them off, you know, Wish and all that sort of stuff. But if you ever want to, you know, surprise your coaches and your coaching staff with medals at a presentation, they're not that, you know, and they look pretty good. They look pretty close to the real thing.
Interesting. How heavy are they?
Quite heavy. Very. I mean, I've never held a real one, so I don't know how they compare. But I mean, having held the fake ones, they're actually very like you think to yourself, a fake one off the internet, they're going to look crap. Like I've got a World Cup behind me there, a men's World Cup, which you know it's pretty light and pretty cheap looking, but the Olympic medals are actually pretty solid for what they are.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Correct.
Just an idea for you. Just, if you want to
Oh, thank you.
surprise them going on with that. I can imagine though that getting that close, sitting in the crowd, seeing another bronze medal, it only spurs you on though. The disappointment of not making the team. So does that then you hit the gym more, you train a little bit harder, you push yourself a little bit more for that goal of going towards Tokyo at that point?
Yeah, for sure. And I think like first and foremost, I was thinking of the World Cup in 2019. That was like my first, okay, like now that's what's next. But the reality was I went from being a winger and all of a sudden I was in the midfield. My position changed. So I was also dealing with like, oh, like I need to learn this whole position. Well, not learn. I had already played midfield, but like now I had to play at this really high level. So like, yes, I was like in the back of my mind fueled by like, I really want to make this, but I was thinking like, oh, like I really have to learn this. Like, so I was mostly focused on like, yeah, like learning. It was a learning process.
And in terms of the progression sort of through college, I mean, I know at the moment when we're recording this, you're in Sweden and that's where you're playing, but sort of once college ends outside of the national team, sort of had you worked out where you were going? Was it a case of trying to play in America, trying to play in Europe, or was it just where the offers sort of would come from at that point?
Yeah, I think I just wanted to see what opportunities would come for me and then make a decision from there. But then Sweden was the best option for me. And so I flew to Sweden. Yeah, but even further from my parents.
And
But
even
no
more
promise.
different to Florida,
Yeah,
just
I'm like, there is no promises from here. Yeah,
yeah.
it actually gets dark most of the day in the winter, so have fun with that.
And you couldn't drive. Your mum couldn't drive with you that time, right?
Not drive over the water. Yeah, it's just yeah, it was a plane, and yeah, but yeah, I don't know. I also like it in Sweden. I really like it, and I think it was the right choice for me.
How do they, I'm sort of jumping ahead here, but how do they
Mhm.
treat Canadian soccer players after Tokyo? Are they a bit
Uh,
bitter? Are they just like,
I
no,
was
we don't
scared.
want you here?
I was really scared. Honestly, I was like, because I didn't know Swedish people that well. I don't know exactly what they're like. So I was like, are they, like the kind of people that hold grudges over things like that? And they don't. They're really nice people. They're
Good.
so very, very nice, super generous people. And no, they've never been mean or yeah, there's never been any of that.
All right, well, I'm just telling you now, Gabby, if you ever beat the Matildas in a gold medal match, we hold grudges in Australia. On the men's side of things, every Australian soccer fan hates Italy after the 2006 Men's World
Oh,
Cup. We haven't forgiven them. So just saying, warning you. I know you just beat the Matildas, but they were friendly. So World Cup next year, if you make the final and you beat the Matildas at home, never step foot in Australia ever again.
Okay, okay, I'll keep that in mind. That is a bit
Yep.
scary. I
Yeah.
will hold you to that. Yeah, yeah,
Salty
yeah.
people, Australians.
Mhm.
We hold grudges. What can I
Okay.
say? It's a proud Australian tradition here in Australia. You mentioned the World Cup 2019. You make the World Cup
Yeah.
squad. What's that experience like? I mean, obviously you've done a Pan Am Games, you've been on the bench in Olympics, but again, a World Cup in soccer is basically on par, if not bigger than an
Yeah,
Olympic. So I mean, I can
absolutely.
imagine that in France as well. Like, I mean, a great place to go to a World Cup.
Yeah, and I mean, so the Olympics, it's all sports. So like Canadians are tuning into all their athletes. And then you get to a World Cup and all of a sudden it's all about the soccer team,
Yeah,
Like
it's all
the
about
country is
you.
yeah, it's like all of a sudden you're the most important person in the room. And it's just like it feels great. No, but it also like adds a certain amount of pressure to perform and to do well as a team. Because yeah, that event is about you. But it's also like it's another kind of huge too. Like it just you feel it like it's there's money in there, like it's well prepared and the stadiums are ginormous. It's just yeah, it's big.
Which it's also too, because what do we recently have the was it like 90 odd thousand people we had at the Real Madrid and Barcelona women's match, and obviously
Yes.
it's growing and growing, and I mean looking here in the round of 16, the Sweden game, 38,000 people, which again I can imagine not something you're overly used to playing in front of crowds that way, at certain points. So that must, put the chills on the neck. People are there to see you, as you say, and the people getting behind it, because it's obviously soccer's a sport where you want to play in front of a crowd. You want the chanting, you want the atmosphere. So that kind of obviously just adds to everything you're talking about there.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. And it is really special to play with that chanting, with that crowd. I mean, obviously when you're playing, it kind of becomes back noise and you don't focus about it, but like, just like when you enter your like the stadium and that's what you hear, and it is like you do get chills. Like it is really, really special.
Do you get chants that you just love? Like, I don't know, sort of like there in Sweden, maybe certain teams have certain chants, how it generally works. But it's what I love about going to soccer games. It's just the chanting, the fans, kind of that atmosphere. Like, are you out there playing and you're kind of chanting along and that's helping you? Or are there some where you're just like, oh, shut the fuck up, let me play. Come on.
Yeah. I'm gonna be honest, like because I'm like French speaking, the chants I do not understand. Like that's one thing that like I can't hear, like my brain does not compute what they're saying. I have no idea. No idea at
Wow.
all. I don't think I've ever had, even like when I am myself like in the stands, like watching a men's game or something, going like to different men's game. I don't know why. I don't know what they're saying. And
Interesting.
obviously
What
in
about if
Sweden
they're
I
in
have no
French?
idea.
If they're in French, can you sort of compute them then?
I don't think I've ever been to a like a French like stadium. So I wouldn't know. Maybe it's just my ears. Like maybe I have a problem with like not hearing well. I don't know. But like seriously, like sometimes I stand in like men's like stadium packed and I'm like watching a game and they're chanting and I have to like go my friend, I'm like, what are they saying? I have no idea. Like if I'm on the
Wow.
field, like there is no chance that I will understand. I just like kind of feel the rhythm, and the rhythm is what gets me going. Like I like it, but I don't know what they're saying.
Fascinating. Wow. This is the thing that always baffles me. I have a friend who is just not a soccer fan. He does not like the sport. And we went to a National League game in Australia, in Melbourne. And to me, like, half the fun is just watching the fans and just the chants and the ideas that they come up with and everything. And he's bored. And I'm like, mate, like, what is your problem? Like, watch the crowd. If you don't like what's going on the pitch, this is half entertaining. I mean, God, we play cricket in this country. How people can sort of, get to the point where they find that entertaining. I like cricket, don't get me wrong. But, I mean, it's just people who've never been to a soccer game. Like, sometimes it's the fans that are more entertaining sometimes than some of the games.
The environment, yeah, it's crazy.
It's just that culture and everything with it too. Olympics 2021, 2020, 2021. That period though, that sort of 1 year break, do you feel helped you personally towards getting selected? Do you feel had it been held when it was meant to be, things might have been different? Sort of what was that whole period like?
Yeah. I think going like before COVID and everything, I was like obviously like in the running to make that 18 squad, but it would have been a battle again. I'm pretty sure like I would have had to fight for that spot, have like some good performances in April and in June to be selected. So I can't say 100% like, oh, like I would have been selected if would have been no COVID and the Olympics would have been held in 2020. But then like when COVID hit, it was actually really hard for me because, well, it was hard for everyone, obviously. Um, but in terms of like sports, for me, I was stuck in America, but I was alone. I was living at my boyfriend's parents' house. So for 5 months, I was training on my own. And it was mostly conditioning and like weightlifting. So when I like finally got back on the fields in late July, I was like, oh my God, like all my habits are gone. Like
Wow.
I like any like sort of like running pattern and like turning and like just like good body positioning. I felt so awkward on the field, and I like it was really like stressful for me because so like the national team hadn't like started again. It didn't start until February 2021. So I had like this from July 2020 to like January 2021 to get ready, but like it just was not getting better, and like it was taking time, and I was starting to get like really concerned because I worked so hard during COVID. Like I was so fit and like strong, but yet I felt weak and not fit. So like I didn't understand what was going on, and I just yeah, it was really hard. But then eventually I kind of got some things like as it went, like slowly it came back, and like some other things figured out. And when I got into February 2021, I felt ready to be in camp. But like, thank God I had this much time to get ready because it really took me time to get back into it.
And when you sort of got back into it and everything was sort of back to how it was, when that nod came to you, be it, I don't know how you got a phone call, an email, however it was, when you were told that you were on that squad for Tokyo after narrowly missing out on being on the squad for Rio, what was that feeling like then for getting that official nod for Tokyo?
Yeah, it was actually really it's funny because actually so the squad for Tokyo was 22 players. But initially it was 18 and four alternates. And I actually got my first call was that you're an alternate player.
Ouch.
And that was soul crushing.
Yeah.
uh, yeah, I felt like because I had worked so hard the 2021 year and I had done like really well and I had been consistent and I was proud of what I'd put out. And then just yeah, getting that call was a really tough blow. But then a week later, getting that other call that was like, actually now it's 22, so you're part of the squad was just as weird. I was like in an airport. I had to like got stuck in an airport overnight, and I hadn't slept, and I got the call in the morning. So I'm just like, I get the call, and I'm like, I can't cry in an airport. Like people are gonna wonder what's going on with me. So I'm holding back joy, like tears of joy. I'm like, this is so weird. Like it was just a very weird week for me. Yeah.
Wow. So what was it like? Was that a Team Canada decision to increase it to 22? Was that an Olympic decision? You can have extended squads. Like, how did that
Yeah.
change?
Yeah. So it was an Olympic decision. I had to do with COVID, and so because like it was uncertain, like COVID was still around, like maybe a player on your squad would get COVID during the Olympics. So then instead of having like just 18 players, you have 22 and you can rotate your 18 throughout the tournament.
Wow.
Um, so it was like it was like a more free like approach. And then it gave the opportunity to all the 22 players to be like actual players, which was really
Which,
nice.
because I obviously realised for the most part you were a bench player. You obviously got some game time against the UK, and I'll talk about that in a second. But does that then, because again, you're not sitting in the crowd this time, you're on the bench, which is obviously a little bit
Yeah.
closer, but how does that change the mindset from you then to, okay, well, I'm maybe not going to be starting every single game here, but again, you've also got to be ready, so you can't just obviously
Yeah.
be complacent at that point.
Yeah, absolutely. I think in Rio, uh, every game day, I knew I wasn't going to play. And I knew I had to stay mentally prepared in case something were to happen to someone. Like I still had to be tuned in and like mentally like ready to step in at any time. But like in Tokyo, it felt even more real. Like every game day that I was on the bench, it's like you could come in. So like you wake up in the morning, you have to be ready. So it was mentally like Tokyo was like a more like, okay, I have to stay focused. Like, yes, I am enjoying this experience, but like it's also about like this is business and like we have a medal to win. And so you have to stay mentally tuned in.
That mindset, I'm glad you brought that up. We have a medal to win because I like that attitude because obviously two bronzes in a row at the Olympics. 2019 World Cup, round of 16, probably not obviously where you'd want to have been, but was the team mood obviously a medal, but was it realistically gold? We can win this.
Yeah, what's actually crazy is that from the moment in 2021 when we first got together in February, the message was we're changing the color of the medal. So it wasn't like immediately gold, but I think in all of our minds, the objective was gold. And then that kind of mindset kind of stayed with us all the way through the preparations. Like what we want is gold. We're changing the color of the medal. And throughout the tournament, like same thing. Like I think we were just like really hungry. Like you get bronze again. You're like we want to get past that semifinal and like we want to win that gold medal. Like we were all very motivated towards that one goal of like yeah of getting gold.
And for yourself, then getting those minutes in that game against Britain, I mean that experience of going back to my initial question about what was that like representing Canada at a young age, but now you're at the peak, you're at the Olympics. You know, you had a World Cup now and Olympics. I mean, what's that moment like?
Yeah, it's also surreal. Like it's just like you kind of it's not an out of body experience by any means, but it kind of is like you're playing for something so much bigger than yourself that it's like I don't know, like you kind of put like all your like thoughts and emotions aside and you're just kind of focused on like the moment and like this is it and like I'm part of a whole like moving like entity like this 11 like we are one type thing. I felt like going in like oh like I'm one moving piece of this whole like big thing.
I'm actually glad. Like, obviously, you know, when I was watching it, I'm rooting for Canada. Would have loved you to have won the group, but I'm actually, as an Australian, glad you didn't, because I'm glad that then we had to play Britain, and we knocked them out, so that we could go to the semis as well. So, thank you for that, first of all, on behalf of the Matildas and Australia. But the thing that is just so incredible about this journey to gold is the knockout phase. And we were covering this daily, absolutely glued to it every single day. The penalty shootout against Brazil. Start with that. I mean, such an emotional roller coaster, all three of these games that we can get to. But how are you feeling at that point? Because again, it's, I guess, mission accomplished. You're in the semis. You obviously want to go one further. But at that point, you've gotten the bare minimum, right? You're into the semis. You've gone through a penalty shootout. How's the mood going at that point?
Yeah, like once we get into the semis, you mean, right? Like what's going
Yeah,
on
so
there?
you've beaten Brazil, like that sort of that moment you're through. You've
Yes.
sort of gotten to where you
Yes.
want, at least minimum where you want to be.
Yeah, well, I think you're looking at the next game and you're like, oh, this is a repeat of the 2012, like the 2012 Olympics, like the United States in the semis. And I just thought that moment was so special because there was a chance to rewrite history. And I remember like every day leading up to it thinking like this is like the coolest thing ever that this is about to happen because how awesome would it be if we beat America and like just yeah made 2012 like rewrote that whole history and then we're the ones on top now and we're like on top of like making history with US we're making history like we're everywhere it's history everywhere we're going for a gold medal like it's just like the moment was so huge and it was really cool to be a part of it.
It's just, I remember that match vividly as well. What had been like 20 years since Canada had beaten USA in a game as well.
Yeah.
Of course, it had to be a penalty that won you after 2012 as well. I mean, it just everything
Yeah.
seemed to line up. And again, against the USA, traditional rivals of Canada in any sport, you know, your arch nemesis to the south, but in women's soccer, this is the same as if, you know, if somebody beats Brazil in men's soccer or something like that, like the creme de la creme of your sport. Everything about it just was written in the stars.
Yes, it felt like it was meant to happen, you know, like it just like the whole moment was insane. And yeah, just so happy to have been a part of that and to have been there to see it. It was yeah, it was crazy.
Because obviously I'll touch on the gold medal match in a second, but like I can imagine the gold medal match is probably number one, but is beating USA in the semis almost the better victory of the two?
I mean, I don't think you can beat a gold medal, but like just the accomplished, like the way we won that gold medal makes it is what makes it special too. You know, like beating the US first and then going to get that gold is like a perfect journey.
It's one of these things, Gabby, that I feel like I can see the movie being made in the future. You know, the gold medal win in Canada, there'll be a movie made, but it's sort of like when you think of, say, Team USA Miracle on Ice, the hockey team from 1980. You know, you think of that famous match where they beat the Soviet Union, and everyone always thinks that's the gold medal game. It's not. They win that to go on to then win the gold medal. So this, to me, will be in the movie. This will be the shining moment. We'll be beating the USA, revenge, 2012, all of that sort of stuff. You know, Christine comes in and gets this epic penalty, and there it is. And then you'll have like Morgan Freeman step in. Oh, let's be honest, a Canadian, William Shatner. You know, we need to keep it Canadian. And he'll come in and be like, Team Canada then went on to win the gold medal and cap off every. Like, I don't know. That to me is the moment of the movie where everybody's getting emotional and cheering. You've got some Celine Dion playing in the background. I don't know. Like, it's just so Canadian that people are just crying their eyes out in the cinema.
Yes, I think wow, that would make a superb movie.
Oh,
I think.
I'm seeing it now. Come on.
Break some
This
records.
is
Yes.
it's got to be made with that. You mentioned obviously, you know, changing the colour. So you've changed the colour. You're in the final. This is ultimately going to be a gold or a silver, but you're not going into a gold medal match going, let's play for silver. That's what we want to today. Probably, I want to say my favourite moment of Tokyo was watching that penalty shootout. We were on air recording this. I think it was about midnight or 12:30 for us, and sort of my co-host and I were two Australians. Our Canadian co-host Colin wasn't on with us. So we're watching this going like, okay, let's wrap the episode up. Do we really need to watch this pen? Okay, we'll stay on board. And of course, it just went on and it went on and it went on and it went on. And then just that epic moment that it came down to that. I'm telling you that from a perspective of a bedroom in Australia. You're on the damn pitch, Gabby, about to win a gold medal. Is that the most nervous you've ever been in your entire life, having to deal with watching every single one of those kicks at that point?
It was it was so stressful. I didn't even have to take like a penalty. I wasn't even like on the field. But like just like watching it, oh my God. And just because what happened is every penalty that was taken changed like the outcome. So like
Yeah.
one person would go up and I'd be like, oh, we're winning goal. Oh no, we're not. Oh shoot, like they're gonna win gold, but like we're gonna get silver. Oh wait, we're not. Like it was just like every moment it was changing, and you just never knew what was gonna happen. It was never obvious until the very, very end. Is like what made it so nerve-wracking. And then when you finally win, the absolute joy, and just like you kind of black out from joy, just running onto the field and just going absolutely crazy, like dog paddles, and just it was crazy.
It's just one of those moments where it was just so insane to watch, one of those real Olympic moments. Because as you said, like every kick, and there was a period there where just none of you wanted to score a goal. It was just like, does anyone want to score a goal here? Like,
exactly.
was it like 5 misses or something ridiculous in a row? Like it just got to that point where I was like, wow, okay, then somebody at least score a goal here. But I mean, the history that it created, just in terms of, for women's soccer in the country, for soccer in general, not just women's soccer, men's and women's soccer, the level of achievement that this brought to the country. And were you aware of just how big of a deal it is? Because this is very early morning in Canada, of course, for the most part of the country. They're waking up to this. But was there a moment when it sort of got back to you and the team of how big of a deal this was back home in Canada?
Yes, but also we're in Tokyo, so to an extent we're like not fully connected with the whole of Canada. We know that it's good what we just did and historical, and we know that Canada's definitely proud and happy. But I don't think personally, I can't speak for other players. I don't think I'll ever be able to understand the full extent of how big it was, because I like wasn't there, like you can't, but I know it was big, but I just don't know how big. I know it was pretty big.
It's to put it into perspective, I know a lot of people compared it to the Vancouver Olympics when Sidney Crosby got the golden goal and the men's team won the gold medal, and like a lot of people put it on that pedestal, because I think wasn't it like the highest rating event in like a certain amount of years in terms of just Canadians tuning in to watch this, and it will go down probably as one of those moments where it's like, where were you when you saw Team Canada win this gold medal? So I mean, it's just, that's the level it was sort of being talked about with.
Yeah, for sure. And like I remember personally that 2010 Olympics when Sidney Crosby, I was in Cancun, and like there was a whole bunch of Canadians watching it, and they're like,
best place to watch hockey, Cancun. Why not?
I know. I still remember. So I can see, like, I can picture how big it was, and I know how big it was for Canada. It's still kind of crazy that I was a part of that.
Well, instead of getting a medal handed to you like a day later, by the way, Gabby, here's a bronze medal. You're obviously on a podium this time around, singing "Oh Canada." Can you describe that moment at all? Is it something that you can even put into words?
Yeah. Well, no, actually, like it's grand, like it's huge. And I just, remember it was at that point, it was probably like almost 1 a.m. like in Tokyo. Like it was so late. The game had started at 9 p.m. and it had gone on for so long. And by the time like you get the ceremony going, like it was super late. But it was just like, and I remember it being so hot. I was so hot. I was dripping sweat because we were wearing like a full, like, I don't know what material it was, but it was heavy and it was hot.
And you didn't have Lululemon then to be like, the winter's got Lululemon. Usually have them wear Hudson's Bay stuff, so not quite as streamlined.
It was beautiful. I loved the outfit, but it was hot and everyone was hot. And but just stepping on that podium, it's just like, because like this is as good as it gets in any kind of anything. So like you're stepping on it and you're really trying to remember the moment. Like I remember just being like, okay, like this is like the best thing ever. Like but you're still like kind of like a human doing it. I don't know if that makes sense. Like we picture like Olympians as these like these superhumans, but I am like stepping on the podium being like I'm still human, like this is me, normal me, and just being like just overwhelmed by the moment kind of, and just, yeah, super proud too.
How big was the party after that? I mean, obviously it's COVID. You probably can't do as much as you'd like to, but I mean, surely there was a little bit of a party afterwards.
It was 3 days long.
It's still going, right? Let's be honest, Gabby.
It's been a year, so we're still doing it. Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy. Which I mean, you go through all that, you win the gold. I mean, did you get an opportunity to sort of come back home? Obviously, COVID was still a thing, so probably things like parades and that obviously couldn't happen like they would have in normal times. But do you at least get a chance to do some sort of celebration and come back to Canada with the medal?
Yeah. I went home straight from Tokyo. I flew home. And then I had 3 days at home. But what was really most important for me when I got home was to see my family first and then my friends. So I had like this celebration with my friends, like at some point over the 3 days, which was really special because a lot of them I hadn't seen in a while just from being away a lot. So like that gold medal like also brought me close to my friends in that moment, which was really good. Like everyone like made time and we all like saw each other, and I like that was a really special moment for me too, being able to see friends and family and just share it with them. That I loved that part of it.
They weren't using you, Gabby. They weren't just going like down to the local shop going, here's my Olympic gold medalist friend. Let's get some free stuff all of a sudden, right? Like,
I mean, I would have let them. Like, I don't.
there you go. Perfect invitation. Which, I mean, I love asking this question, particularly to our gold medalists on the show, is do you try and get free stuff with it? Have you ever just accidentally like left it on or kind of walked into, oh, whoops, what's this thing? Oh, Olympic gold medal. Oh, okay, I will have an upgrade on Air Canada. Thank you.
I feel like there's for some like after there's a certain period of time after you get your gold medal where you can kind of use it, not in a bad way, but like for example, like when I got back and I wanted to book a restaurant just for all my friends and for the gathering. It kind of helps when you're like we're celebrating a gold medal, like all of a sudden like, oh, I can free like this whole section for you guys. And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, that's great because it's like a 1 day notice. It's just little things like that you kind of like, yeah, you use your medal, but like I didn't mean anything bad of it. Like I didn't try to overuse it.
Yet, Gabby. That's the word. You still got time. You can use it. I mean, just maybe not in Sweden. They might, you say they're not
I
salty,
think I'm
but
not.
don't.
I think I might get some things taken from me if I do that
Yeah,
actually in
just
Sweden. So
possibly not with that. But what do you do with the medal? Like, is it something you brought with you to Sweden, or do you give it to the parents for sort of safekeeping?
no, I have it with me. And I've traveled everywhere with my bronze medal that I got, and now my gold medal also tags along. I just yeah, it's that one thing that I kind of want to keep close to me.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I can imagine. Yeah, if I ever had a real one, none of these fake ones that I've got in a bag somewhere, I think that I'd probably never take the damn thing off. Which, I mean, for yourself personally, obviously, progression now at this point, do you then spur on Paris? Obviously, is close. You've got the World Cup, as I mentioned, in Australia next year. Is it a case for you to just keep pushing hard and maybe be on the starting lineup rather than sort of coming off the bench, things like that for yourself personally?
Yeah, I mean, that's always like the goal, and I think my mentality is always to keep working, no matter what. I think what's most important is to keep improving. And so like the more you keep improving, the better you put your chance to making a squad or like being a part of that starting 11. So that's where my head's at right now is like, how can I become better over time and then hopefully, get more of an important role someday for Canada.
And in terms of just the sport where it's at right now for women in the country, I believe there is talk and sort of the groundwork for a professional league to finally sort of happen. Obviously, with this gold medal, I can imagine it's brought a lot more exposure on it as well. I mean, obviously you're in Sweden, I know you're not in Canada, but are you seeing or at least hearing that this is doing things, helping progress the sport, particularly for women in the country?
Yeah, I think it's really important for us to get a league at some point and like a professional league in Canada, like for like the development of players too in Canada, and like to keep getting better and to stay as one of like the world's best countries for soccer, we need a women's professional league. I'm not fully aware of like how it's going, but I definitely know it's like they're talking about it and like I think seriously talking about it. And that would be so cool. I like being able to play like in your country. Like if I were ever able to play in Montreal, for example, I mean, that's just so cool. Like your friends,
Yeah.
your families, they're close. Like you get the best of every world. And then it's really good for Canada's development too. And I think it's crucial that we get a league at some point.
I was going to ask if it gets off the ground and you'd be tempted to then go back home and play at home as well.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, if it's like if it's an opportunity, as I said, that like helps my development and helps me improve, like for 100%, that would be something I'd consider.
Well, we look forward to seeing sort of how that goes. I mean, when I lived in Canada, I know they had just started the men's one, and I was in Victoria, and Pacific FC done all
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
So, which
yeah.
actually I know you played in Victoria.
Yes,
You met Mr. Trudeau, didn't you, in Langford there? Like he showed
he
up and was
did.
like, "How you going, girls?" And that must have been a pretty
Yeah,
cool experience.
yeah, just like that, he just popped up, just hey,
How you
shook
going? Yep,
hands, like oh hi, wow,
there he is.
yeah.
Which it's a nice stadium out at Langford, actually. Not bad for what they've got going out there. And I mean, I
Yes.
wish I was there at the time because it would have been great to see those games. But time of recording this, you've literally just come back from Australia days ago, and congratulations to you for knocking the Matildas off in a couple of games there as well. I'm not told you it's salty. I nearly cancelled this interview, Gabby, actually. But I mean, you said to me off air you've been to Australia a couple of times before, but obviously exciting the prospect of a World Cup in Australia. I mean, this is obviously getting a lot of buzz down here at the moment.
Yeah, yeah, I think it's, and I mean, playing in Australia like last week, seeing how big it already was really cool. Like just like the entrance, like out of the tunnel, like the fireworks that were going off, the fire even there was fire, just like popping everywhere. Like you could see like okay, like the World Cup next year is gonna be huge most likely because they're already putting so much thought and attention into it. And yeah, it's gonna be really cool.
It is an exciting time to be a fan of the sport in Australia. I mean, it's obviously at the time recording this, obviously got the Men's World Cup to come this year, but then the Women's World Cup and having that in Australia is huge because we've never had a tournament like this of any caliber in Australia, men's or women's, for soccer outside of the Sydney Olympics. So it's obviously going to be a very big deal. And do you sort of get much in terms of cheering on your fellow countrymen in the men's side of things? Obviously, their breakthrough for the World Cup this year, qualifying as well. Is there much plan and sort of getting the squad together maybe to watch some of these games and kind of cheer them on and sort of see what that might do for the men's side? Because the women are kicking ass. It's now time for the men to catch up, right?
Yeah, I mean, they've definitely been doing well. It's like it's super cool that they're going to a World Cup. I think there's even talks of like some people wanting to go to Qatar and like cheer them on, like actually on site, which is really cool. But I'm really looking forward. They have a tough group,
Hmm.
um, but like that's what's really exciting is like I kind of like I still believe in them. Like I know their coach. Like we used to be coached by John Hernman, and I
I
know
was going to say he was your
what.
coach, wasn't
Yeah,
he? Yeah.
yeah, I know like what he can do and how he can inspire players and push them to the next level. So I'm really curious and looking forward to seeing like what they're going to do there, especially against Belgium. I'm really looking forward to that Belgium game.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun, and very much looking forward to seeing how all that obviously plays out. Gabby, we're going to wrap things up with a set of sort of get to know you style fun questions here, and I'll say that you maybe answered these ahead of Rio. I don't know, sort of if alternates, you sort of did like a media day and you sort of got these questions because this is a questionnaire that Team Canada gave the athletes ahead of Rio and Pyeongchang. Believe they didn't do it for Tokyo, so I don't know if you would have gotten this questionnaire for Tokyo. It's not on the website, so we don't know if they did or not. But I will say there is a optional drawing element If
Oh my God.
if you like drawing, you have the option to do some additional homework here. You can draw a picture of yourself. You can draw a picture of your favorite Canadian animal and the coolest Olympic medal. So again, don't have to, but if you're bored today and you want to draw, flick me a message and I'll post it on our social media to go alongside with this
Oh my
interview. But
God.
no pressure, no pressure. Start off with this one. You're allowed to answer your own if you want to. What is your favorite Olympic moment?
Huh. My favorite Olympic moment. Yeah, I mean, okay, there are so many cool Olympic moments. But the one that a bit like obviously immediately pops into my head is my own, like our own, like winning gold. But I want to say that there's definitely like a lot of them like in the back of my head. I'm not digging them out right now.
Say your
There's a
own.
lot of
It's
cool
fine.
ones.
Go for it. It's allowed. Lots of people are going to be answering that moving forward in this question. So, get in while the iron's hot. If you could choose any Olympic host city, where would it be?
Hmm. It's a good one. Um, okay, I mean, it's funny because I had never been to Sydney until last week. But I always had like I don't know why I've always thought of Sydney as like this really cool city, and like I would have probably said Sydney.
Yeah,
I still probably say Sydney. Yeah.
that's still a pretty good Olympics. I'm just saying, if you've got another 10 years in you at all, Gabby, Brisbane's hosting the Olympics in 2032, of course. So a little bit
Yeah, good
further
point.
north, and you played in Brisbane, of course. So I mean,
Yeah.
not sure if you went there thinking I could play an Olympics here in 10 years. But you're
We'll
still
see.
young. You're still
I'll let you
young.
know. I'll let you
Yeah,
know in
yeah, you can
probably
do it.
7 years. I'll probably yeah.
Faith in you, Gabby. Faith in you. In your spare time, what do you most like to do?
I like to go to coffee shops
Nice.
and hang out with friends or read or do some work. It's the coffee that gets me there, really.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's a good excuse to go to a coffee
Yeah.
shop. I think so. I love the answer here. So I'm using the question here that was given to a field hockey player by the name of David Carter. And his answer to this one is he likes to eat chicken wings. So, you know,
Oh, that's really good.
great thing to do in spare time for field hockey players is eating chicken wings. There you go. Thanks, David, for that. The weirdest instruction a coach ever gave you was?
Oh my God.
I love this
Um,
question.
oh my God.
Get
That's
our best
tough.
answers for this question.
Okay, well, recently in Australia, I wouldn't say like it's the weirdest one, like that had to happen, but like the second game I came on and I got injured like 25 minutes later, which is kind of really annoying. Like you just come in and you want to do a difference for the team and all of a sudden you're injured. And I was pretty badly injured, but we were out of subs. So I kind of had to like stay on and limp around. And so my coach was like, "You're gonna go as the nine." Mind you, like I'm an outside back. You're gonna go as the nine, and you're just kind of gonna stand there and do your best up there. And so for the remaining 10 minutes of our game against Australia, the second one, like a week ago, I was limping around as the nine, just trying to do
Just stand
something to
there.
help the team. Yeah, because I kind of had to stay on. We had no more subs. And that was like a really weird moment. And then I had Sam Kerr yelling at me because I was on the ground too long and just get off the field, get off the field. I'm like, I really want to listen to you, but I don't think I can.
Jesus, of all the people to be yelling at you, Sam Kerr's yelling at you. Shit.
Yeah, I was in
Wow.
too much pain to like realize. I was just, like, I'm so confused right now. But yeah, I played as the nine. It was fun.
I've got to ask on that. When you are injured, like legitimately injured, is it hard that people believe you? Seems as soccer players seem to cry wolf a little bit with those injuries.
Yeah, I mean, especially men's players, that's fair. Women's a little less, maybe even a lot less. But it's always hard to tell. Like if you're not in the player's body and you don't feel their pain, it's hard to tell whether you think it's legit or not. Like at the end of the game, players were coming to me like, "Hey, like, were you cramping?" I'm like, "I've been on for like 30 minutes, guys. Like I'm a little fitter than that, I think." Like
Yeah.
I legitimately like was in a lot of pain. Like, but like it's hard to tell. Like you don't know, and it's like obviously like if you don't know, you can't really tell if it's serious or not.
Do you sometimes just watch the men and go, guys, come on, you're giving us a bad reputation here. Just come on. Like, because obviously, if they generally are injured, it's serious, but sometimes you've got to question it a little bit.
No, absolutely. I agree with that. Especially what gets me is like the like quadruple roll on the
Yeah.
ground. And then they get back up and they're like, everything's fine. And I'm like, oh my God.
I think the famous one was at the 2002 World Cup where was it Rivaldo got like hit in the knee and then he grabs his face and drops to the ground. And I think it was against
Yeah,
Turkey and the Turkish guy I think got red carded and it's just like, dude,
yeah.
like, come
That never looks
on.
good. No, that's never
No,
good.
not at all, not at all. Your favorite workout is?
Oi. My favorite workout is okay. On this, like when I do it, it's not my favorite because it's hard. But I do metcons. So it's
Right.
kind of like you're kind of doing like yeah, you know, exercises, weight exercises, but like you're doing like high intensity one after the other, and it's a circuit. So it gets really hard. But like once you're done, you feel like you got like your cardio in and you're like your weights in, so it feels really good.
You feel like you've done something. You've
Yeah, you
actually,
feel you
yeah,
feel very accomplished. Yeah.
yeah, that's the word, accomplished. I like that. If you could have lunch with any one person, who would it be?
Oh my God. That's a good question. They're all so hard yet like such easy question yet so hard to find out. I would like to have lunch with um I don't know.
You
I
don't
feel like
know?
there is no good. I have like Justin Trudeau, Ronaldo, Messi in my head right now, and like Marta. It's just like they're all popping up in my head, and it's maybe like we have like a brunch together, all of us.
Well, I was
I
going to
don't
say
know.
you could have like invite all three of them, and then you and Justin could just be like, who's better between the two of you?
And I say Justin just because we spoke about Justin
Oh, you're
earlier, so my
friends
brain is,
now,
oh, it's right there. Justin's right there, so might as well have lunch with him.
and clearly first name basis because you shook the guy's hand. So you know you're besties with
Yeah, we're
Justin.
we're quite good friends actually. Yeah.
Yeah. What does he say to you? What does the Prime Minister of Canada say to you when he shakes your hand?
Mm, I think I blacked out. I'm not sure. I was really
I don't.
focused on getting. I was like focused on getting the handshake right. So
Don't
I
fuck
didn't
this
pay
up. Don't fuck
attention.
this up.
Yeah, exactly. Like you don't want something embarrassing like that to happen to you.
Which
So
it's so the funny thing I found when I lived in Canada, I guess at least in my circle, and I'm not here to talk about politics, but like at least in the circles I hung out with, he maybe wasn't the most popular guy. But coming from Australia, where literally everybody loves him, and our headlines in Australia generally come from the Canadian Prime Minister with a nice ass. So that's generally the perception that Australians have of your Prime Minister is he's got a
oh
very
my,
nice rear end. So
I think it's not. I don't think like I think there's other countries that think that way too. I don't think it's only Australia.
I'm actually sad. I actually have a pair of Justin Trudeau socks. Not wearing them right now though, so
Oh my
I'm
God.
sad that I'm not. I should have forethought this that we're going to talk about Justin Trudeau. I should have been wearing my Justin Trudeau socks, but I'm not. I'm not doing that right now. I want to mention David's answer here. He's on the ball again with this for who he could have lunch with. He says, the guy I once saw at the airport in Denver, Colorado in 1997 who looked exactly like me. Um,
Like, how do you get a better answer than that? That's
I
such a
know.
good.
Specific too. It's not just like, oh, that guy I saw in an airport once. It's Denver, Colorado in 1997. He knows the specifics. That's David Carter. You're doing well with these. Your favorite sandwich is?
Okay, well, I've been a pescatarian for 2.5 years, almost 3 years now. So I really don't eat sandwiches that much anymore because the good sandwiches, they have meat
Yeah.
in them.
Yep.
So I'm gonna go with a sandwich that I used to love, from actually from Subway, which is yeah. I would get like grilled chicken with barbecue sauce
Oh,
and like
nice.
yeah, on like a 6 grain bread. Yeah, that was my favorite sandwich.
I'm not wanting
Used
to
to be.
tempt you here, Gabby, to lose your diet. So sorry if I'm bringing up these foods from the past where it's just
Yeah,
like,
no,
oh,
it's gonna
you
be
know,
tough. Yeah. No, it's okay.
temptation. If you could have any superpower, what would it be?
Mm, oh my God, I would like all the superpowers. But
Have them all.
yeah, I'd like, oh my God, like unlimited knowledge. Like you
Ooh,
know everything.
that's a good one.
Like just and like every fact you want to know, you know it. Every like you know the answer to everything.
Yeah. Okay. I don't think we've had that one answered before. Good answer. That's a very good one. The best candy in the world is.
Mm. Swedish candy. It's really good. Any kind of it. I've like really gotten to like them. Probably like there's this, I don't know what it's called, but it's like this red on the outside, white on the inside. It's kind of like cream, but not cream feeling, kind of like
Okay.
filling. And then so it's sour on the outside and like sugary on the inside. It's really good. And I think they have
Nice.
that everywhere in the world, and I just don't remember the name and don't know how to explain it well. But
That's all right. You
it's really
explained it
good.
enough. I can picture it. That sounds sounds nice. As a kid, your favorite sports team was
By Barcelona.
Barcelona. Okay. Was it a case of when you're growing up, like obviously playing soccer, that more into European than say MLS at that point? I don't know. I think it was Montreal around sort of at that point.
No, they were. That's a good point. They were. But like the people weren't like fans of the Montreal. It was the Montreal Impact at the time. Like they were. Like I would go and see games of the Montreal Impact. But then like if I was thinking like of a championship, I was thinking of like La
Yeah.
Liga. I was thinking of like Barcelona. But I did like go see Montreal Impact games. But I wouldn't say like I was like a diehard fan.
I'm just, I again realized I said at the beginning how I'm wearing a Toronto FC jersey tonight.
Toronto.
It's not quite
Yeah,
Montreal, but I was fascinated when Thierry Henry coached
that was
Montreal.
cool.
That was pretty
Yeah, and I
exciting to
think
have that
like
happen.
yeah, in the recent years, there's definitely been like a fan base that's been growing for Montreal FC, and I personally like I like to follow them, and like I've really taken a liking to the team. Yeah, it's getting bigger.
Have you ever been to a Barcelona game before?
No, I went to a Real Madrid game though, but I did not go to Barcelona.
It'd be pretty exciting to go to one of those sort of what El Clasico matches and just see all
Oh
that
my
in
God.
person,
Yes,
right? That would be
absolutely.
insane.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah, indeed. Your favorite sports movie is?
I like what's the okay, that's very un-Canadian of me, but the is it called Miracle?
Miracle,
The
yeah.
one,
Yep.
yeah. I
Mentioned
just
Miracle on Ice
I like
before, yeah.
watched it one day before like I had to like do the like a physical test, and I hate them and like they get me stressed out. But like that movie really got me hyped. I was like, if they can do it, I can do that. Like
Yeah.
that fitness test, like 20
And
minute
that's
fitness,
and that's why Canada won gold. That's what I'm
and that
saying.
is
You're gonna have the
why.
own version of that movie one day, Gabby. That's gonna happen. Kurt Russell could come in and play, well, I don't know, a trainer. I guess it's we need women in it, Ben, not Kurt Russell. Kurt Russell could just be a fan. There you go. He can be the sequel to Miracle. There he is, the coach of Team USA. Yay, go Canada. He's cheering on Canada against USA in that semi. Yeah. He's a
I'm sure he
disgruntled
will.
American, but he's
I'm
always happy
sure
for
he
the
will.
Canadians. If you could live anywhere in the world, where would it be?
Oh, wow. I okay, I've never been to New Zealand, and I feel like I shouldn't say that to an Australian. But
It's all good. We'll give it a pass. It's all right.
I feel like New Zealand is it would be such a cool place to live, but I have never been there, so I can't 100% say that. But we'll say New Zealand.
I've lived in New Zealand and it is a beautiful country. It's we have the rivalry. It's no different to you in America. I think it's a bit friendlier between Australia and New Zealand. When I lived in Canada, yeah, not so friendly to the Americans compared to what we are to the New Zealanders.
Yeah.
But no, it's
Wow.
a beautiful part of the world and definitely recommend going there. I love this question. When you were little, what was one thing you always thought?
Oh my God. One
I'll
thing I
give you
always
David's answer. He says that he thought he'd be taller. That was his answer. Yeah,
Oh no. He has some really good answers.
he does. Why don't you get
Yeah.
Dave on the show?
Maybe we should. He definitely
Yeah.
wouldn't take as much time as I am taking to answer these things. Um, that I didn't think I was going to be taller, that's for sure. Um, oh, I thought like magical powers would pop up at some point.
Well, you still
Like
got time. You
not
never
like
know.
yeah, like from like I was like maybe they're just gonna appear like hopefully
Yeah,
soon.
yeah.
Yeah,
I give
if
it
they
time.
did.
Gabby, you're still
Yeah.
young. You never know. Mine came
Right.
late, but they happen eventually. So there you go. Now this is one of those questions where I think you've either got one or you don't. And if you don't have one, I'm going to share Dave's answers to this one. What is your favorite joke to tell?
Oh no. I don't have good jokes. Oh, that's sad. Please,
And you're
let's
not
make
allowed to
Dave
say the
answer.
American women's soccer team. You can throw shade. It's fine. You beat them in the Olympics. You're allowed.
That's
Told you,
good.
we're salty. They beat us for bronze. I told you, Australia's salty.
I'm I'm really curious. I want to know what he said.
All
Please
right,
tell us.
let's close this out with Dave Carter's joke of the thing. I haven't even read this yet, so I'm going to read this, and hopefully it'll be funny. There are two muffins in an oven. One muffin says to the other, "It's getting pretty hot in here, eh?" The other muffin says, "Holy crap, a talking muffin." Yep. All right. That's the joke. Took a while, didn't it? It's sort of like you were like, ha ha, and then ha ha, like you got it. Like it's sort of two levels of comedy. Yeah.
I like it. I think I could
Good
make
on
it my
you,
own.
Dave Carter, playing field hockey. I don't want like somebody else to upstage our guest, but I tell you what,
I'm glad he did. I'm glad he did.
Jeez, all right. Gabby, before we let you go, if people want to stay up to date with what you're up to there in Sweden and following your journey, obviously, towards the World Cup in Australia, Paris and beyond, social media places people can stay up to date with you?
Yeah, my Instagram page, which is just my full name, Gabrielle Carle, and then my Twitter page, which is my abbreviated name, Gabby Carle. Yeah.
I like that abbreviated name.
Yeah, my nickname maybe would have been better.
Yeah, your nickname. TikTok? Yep. Are you on TikTok?
Oh no, no, not yet.
Not yet. No. Yet's being the word. I always like that. Is the national team on TikTok? Can we follow like the Canadian national team on TikTok?
I'm so not onto TikTok yet that I don't even know.
Well, we'll find out.
That's how bad it is. Yeah.
We recently had a 62-year-old equestrian rider on this show, Gabby, who has TikTok. So, need to catch up, I feel, right? Yeah, we'll get there eventually. Gabby, this has been so much fun learning about your career and just everything that you've achieved. We seriously appreciate your time here on Off the Podium. And I'll say, I wish you luck for Paris. I'll wish you luck for the World Cup. I guess you can do all right there. But just, again, just think about it. If you make the final or any match against Australia where it's a knockout game, just remember that Australian podcast you did. And think about that guy sitting on his microphone. If you got an opportunity to score like a winner or a penalty, just maybe think, no, those Australians, they've got spiders. They're evil. They could probably hurt us. So, just think about that, okay?
I see. I think I will ignore everything you've just said. But I do appreciate
You're not the first. Gabby, thank you so much for your time. We really do appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you very much.